Amber's toothbrush was dry. Not just dry, dusty, like it hadn't touched water in weeks. I noticed it that morning, standing upright in the little ceramic cup beside mine like nothing had changed. But everything had. It mocked me, that stupid pink toothbrush. Bright and plastic and still somehow looking cheerful, like it didn't know it had just sold her out. It hadn't been used. I knew that. No dampness. No streaks of paste clinging to the bristles. Just dust. Like it had been collecting the air she wasn't breathing here anymore. And suddenly I couldn't unsee it. The night before, Amber had left at 6:42 p.m. I remember the exact time because she kissed me on the cheek. Light, like someone kissing a coworker goodbye. Not a husband. "Don't wait up," she said, digging through her purse, checking her lipstick in the hallway mirror. I was in the kitchen, staring into the fridge like I was going to find some kind of answer next to the orange juice. "What's the plan tonight again?" I asked casually. I'd already asked once that morning, but I just needed to hear it again. I needed it to feel normal. Just a wine night. Couple of girls from the office. "You know the deal," she said, shrugging. She didn't even look up from her phone. "Kara's place, probably." I wanted to believe her. I really, really did. But everything in me said not to. Still, I nodded. "All right, just stay safe." "I don't know. I got a weird feeling." She finally looked at me then, tilted her head the way she does when I say something that doesn't fit into her plan. "A weird feeling?" she asked. Not concerned, more amused. The corners of her mouth lifted like she was suppressing a laugh. "You're being dramatic again." Then came the smile. That one. The "I'm indulging you because you're kind of pathetic right now" smile. She was wearing the red dress. The one she knows makes people stare. Hair curled, heels I hadn't seen in months. And her wedding ring? Not on. "Oh," she said casually when I noticed. "Don't make it weird. It doesn't go with the look." I just nodded, chewing the inside of my cheek so hard I could taste blood. And then she was gone. I didn't turn the TV on. I didn't make dinner. I didn't text her, didn't call. I sat on the couch, staring at the front door like it might swing open and rewind everything. I waited, hour after hour. Midnight, 1 a.m., 2 o'clock. Nothing. At exactly 4:17 a.m., I heard the key turn in the lock. It was like every nerve in my body went on high alert. I didn't move. I just listened. Heels on hardwood. The soft shuffle of her coat coming off. Then laughter. A single breath of it under her breath. Almost like she was remembering something funny. Something someone else said. But no bathroom door opened. No lights flicked on. No faucet ran. And that's what hit me. Not the hour. Not the laugh. But the silence. The complete absence of any habit or ritual that used to mean she was home. No brushing her teeth. No makeup remover wipes in the trash. No glass of water filled beside the bed. She just vanished into our bedroom like a shadow slipping under the door. And I sat there, wide awake, pretending I was asleep when she crawled under the covers. Her body cold, her perfume unfamiliar, too strong, too sweet, not hers. I waited until she was breathing evenly. Then I got up and walked to the bathroom. That's when I saw the toothbrush. And that's when it all started. I stood in the doorway longer than I want to admit, staring at that dusty brush like it could confess something to me. But it didn't have to. The evidence was there in every forgotten detail. The untouched toothpaste tube. The lip balm she hadn't used in a week. The perfume bottle still full even though she reeked of something else. All of it was screaming what I hadn't wanted to face. She hadn't used that toothbrush last night. Not the night before either. Or the night before that. Because she hadn't come home. Not really. She'd been sleeping somewhere else. I pressed my palm against the edge of the sink, breathing through my nose like I was trying to center myself. But there's no centering when your world is suddenly tilting sideways. My hands started shaking. That infuriating part of me. The part that still wanted to protect her, believe her, forgive her before I even knew what I was forgiving, started whispering. Maybe she's just been brushing at work. Or maybe she's using mouthwash. Maybe. But then I remembered the perfume. The new laugh. The way her body didn't lean into me anymore. even in sleep. The dead weight of someone physically present but mentally thousands of miles away. I walked into the hallway, stood outside our room, watched the shadows move across the floor from the light I'd left on in the kitchen. I used to think that light made the place feel warmer, safer. Now it just made everything look like a stage set where I was the only one who didn't know my lines. She stirred once, rolled over, mumbled something I couldn't understand. I watched her for a moment, the back of her hair fanned out across the pillow, her bare shoulder rising and falling with each slow breath. It should have felt familiar, should have felt like home, but it didn't. It felt like I was looking at a stranger who had memorized my wife's body. I didn't sleep. Not that night. Not the next. I became this silent thing moving through the house, watching, waiting, noticing. The toothbrush was only the beginning. But it was enough. Because a dry toothbrush doesn't lie. Neither does silence. And for the first time since we'd said, I do, I realized something that scared me more than anything else. She didn't care if I noticed. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was just waiting for me to put it all together. For me to stop pretending this was still a marriage and admit what she already knew. She was gone. She just left her toothbrush behind. At 3:04 a.m. her phone buzzed. It was the fourth night in a row I'd woken up before her. She slept like a log lately. No stirring. No words in her sleep like she used to. Just stillness. Like the guilt knocked her out harder than honesty ever could. The screen lit up faintly from under her pillow. I didn't touch it. I just leaned over far enough to read the preview. Ashes. I missed that mouth. That was the contact name. Ashes. Like fire, like wreckage. Like whatever we were turning into. The name alone made my stomach twist. It didn't sound like a coworker. Or a friend. Or even someone she could explain without blinking twice. It sounded like the kind of name you only give someone when you want to make sure they disappear when things go bad. I lay there for a while, staring at the ceiling, my heart thudding like it was warning me. This is it. You're in it now. In the morning, she was still asleep. Mascara crusted under her eyes. Her pillow smelled like a stranger's cologne. The same one from the night before. She hadn't even tried to wash it off. I got up quietly, went into the bathroom and stared at that damn toothbrush again. Still untouched. Still dusty. Like it was daring me to say something. But I didn't. Instead, I went downstairs, grabbed her keys and sat in her car. I told myself I just wanted to listen to the radio, that I needed air. But my hands had a mind of their own. They tapped the GPS screen, opened the address history. 3 destinations. Same one. Over and over. The Gable Hotel. Check-in, 10 p.m. Check-out, 3:40 a.m. 3 nights in a row. My heart dropped through the floor. The Gable wasn't a place she'd ever mentioned. In fact, I remember her saying it creeped her out once when we passed it. All those tinted windows, she'd said. It looks like the kind of place you go to lie. Apparently, that was exactly the kind of place she needed. I sat in her car for what felt like an hour, watching the houses across the street go about their morning like none of them knew I was unraveling right there in the driveway. A jogger passed by and gave me a wave. I waved back. When I finally went inside, Amber was up, making coffee, wearing one of my old t-shirts like nothing was wrong. "Sleep okay?" she asked, barely looking up. "Yeah." I lied. "You?" She yawned. Didn't even hear myself fall asleep. No mention of the 3 a.m. text. No mention of where she'd been last night before dragging herself into bed fully clothed, reeking of that heavy, syrupy scent I didn't recognize. I just nodded. Cool. Later that afternoon, when she left to run errands, I went into our closet, not looking for anything specific, just following that gnawing instinct that something wasn't right. Behind a stack of shoeboxes was a bag I hadn't seen before. Brown paper, creased from use. Inside were receipts, bar receipts, all from the same lounge at the Gable Hotel, all signed the same way. Lucy. My throat went dry. That was her fake name. The one she used at bars when she didn't want guys to get too familiar. The same name she joked about years ago, during our honeymoon when a bartender kept flirting with her. If I'd been Lucy, she'd said, he wouldn't have stood a chance. I guess she wasn't joking after all. Each receipt was time-stamped between 10:30 p.m. and 1 a.m. 2 drinks every time. One of them was always bourbon. Amber hated bourbon. She once said it tasted like sadness and a cigar. So who was drinking it? I didn't need to guess. I laid the receipts out in a line across the bed. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I remembered her saying she was exhausted Monday morning because Kara kept me up with girl talk. Right? Ashes. Bourbon. The gable. Lucy. The clues weren't subtle. They weren't even hidden. She just didn't think I'd look. That night, she came home around 8 o'clock. Said she went to dinner with coworkers. I kept my voice steady. How's Brad? She froze for a half second. Then, oh, he's fine. You know Brad. I just nodded. But I do know Brad. He doesn't work at her office. Never did. I'd asked around during the last holiday party when she mentioned him, and no one knew who the hell he was. That was the moment I started keeping a note in my phone. A little folder titled, "With Oddities. Inconsistencies." Now it was full. Later that week, I drove to the Gable Hotel. Walked in like I'd left something behind, holding one of the Lucy-signed receipts folded in half like it was a lost jacket claim. "Hi," I said to the desk clerk. "I think I left my blazer here a few nights ago. Can you check under the name Lucy Caldwell?" She glanced at the computer, typed. Her face didn't change. "Suite 214, she said. 3 recent stays. All booked under Lucy Caldwell and..." She paused, squinting. "Kyle Bennett." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Kyle Bennett. I knew that name. A few months back, I'd interviewed him for a position at my firm. I didn't hire him. Something about him rubbed me the wrong way. Too slick, too smooth. When he walked out of that interview, Amber had looked over his resume on the counter and raised an eyebrow. "Charismatic guy," she said with a grin. "If we weren't married." I thought she was kidding. I really thought she was kidding. But the name was burned into my brain. Kyle Bennett. That wasn't some random Tinder guy. He wasn't just some stranger at a bar. She chose him, picked him from a pile of job candidates and turned him into her secret. I drove home in a fog. Everything felt surreal. Like the world had shifted a few inches to the left and now nothing lined up anymore. Amber was on the couch, half watching a reality show, scrolling through her phone like it was any other night. She looked up at me, grinned. "Hey babe, want Thai?" I stared at her smooth, practiced casualness. At the woman who had somehow learned how to cheat like she'd been training for it. I said, "Sure, because what else do you say when the person you married isn't even bothering to pretend anymore?" I stayed up late that night, sitting on the edge of our bed while she slept beside me. Or pretended to. Her phone was on the nightstand, screen down. I didn't touch it. Not yet. Not because I respected her privacy, but because I knew she was hoping I would. I was starting to think this whole thing wasn't about secrecy anymore. She wanted me to catch her. She was just waiting to see if I was strong enough to do anything about it. The latest receipt was from just 2 nights ago. Same hotel. Same bar. 2 drinks, hers always white wine, his always bourbon. I could tell now, just from the ink total and the timestamp, how long they'd sat there. 2 hours and 43 minutes. Enough time for a conversation. Or something quieter. The receipt sat in my lap as I sat alone in the garage. Door cracked for air. Her car parked beside mine like nothing was wrong. Signed again, Lucy. I stared at it like it was a letter from another world. She had a whole identity for this. Lucy Caldwell. Clean handwriting. Confident signature. She'd practiced this. I kept wondering, what did she feel when she signed it? Did she pause? Did her hand shake? Or did she do it the way she signed our marriage license? Fast, sure, and smiling? I couldn't shake the name from the front desk. Kyle Bennett. I sat there repeating it out loud, just to hear it echo against the car doors. Kyle Bennett. Kyle Bennett. Kyle freaking Bennett. And then the memory came back, clearer than it should have. 6 months ago, sitting in my office. A job interview. He was late, but charming. Confident. He had that thing, the look, the way of speaking like he already knew what you were going to say next. Amber dropped by that day. Brought me coffee. I introduced them. He stood. Shook her hand a little too long. She smiled. Nice to meet you, Kyle. He said. You too. Very. It should have ended there. I didn't hire him. I moved on. But Amber didn't. That night, after he left, she sat on the couch flipping through resumes. His was on top. Charismatic guy, she said, sipping her tea. If we weren't married. I laughed. Right? She raised an eyebrow. No, I'm serious. I laughed again. Nervously that time. She didn't. She just smiled and looked back at the page. It hadn't been a joke. It had been a signal. A test. And I'd failed it. I found his resume the next morning. Still filed in my archive drawer under non-hires. I sat at the kitchen table reading every line, searching for clues like I was decoding some message I should have noticed months ago. Then I saw it. Phone number, email, address. Not far from the Gable Hotel, just a few miles away. Suddenly everything felt orchestrated. Amber didn't stumble into this. She built it. She curated it. From the alias to the location to the exact hours she left me alone on the couch. Every part of this affair was scheduled, controlled, tucked neatly behind her lips like a secret she didn't care if I uncovered. And still, I hadn't done anything yet. I had evidence, names, places, receipts. But what was I supposed to do? Walk into our room and throw it all at her? Shout? Part of me wanted that. The storm. The release. But another part, the colder part, wanted to understand why. Because the cheating wasn't the scariest part anymore. It was the strategy. That night, over dinner, I tested her. Did you hear from Kyle again? I asked casually. She was mid-bite, paused for just a second too long. Who? She said. Kyle Bennett. The guy from your office. Her eyes narrowed a little. Not in fear, in calculation. Oh, no. Haven't seen him since the interview, actually. I nodded. Weird guy. Something about him always rubbed me the wrong way. She smiled barely. You always say that about people more confident than you. And that was it. A little jab. A little redirection. She was baiting me, seeing if I'd snap. I didn't. I smiled back. Maybe. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I opened her laptop. She'd left it on the coffee table, screen half closed. No password. She trusted me. Or maybe she forgot. Maybe she wanted me to find it. I clicked through files. Photos, old documents, folders with names like taxes_2021 and party asterisk. And then I saw it. Buried in a folder called miscellaneous, the kind of place people hide things they don't want to delete but don't want to see. It was a video file. Just labeled, if you know, MP4. My hands were shaking. I clicked play. Amber appeared on screen, sitting in front of her vanity mirror. Hair curled, makeup flawless. She was wearing the red dress, the same one from that first night. The one I hadn't seen since. No smile, no filters, just her. She looked into the camera for a long time before speaking. If you're watching this, she said, then you figured it out. Or at least enough of it. I froze. She continued. I waited for you to come back. Not physically, you were always here. But the you I married? He's been gone a long time. And I got tired of looking for him in your silence. She blinked, but didn't cry. I know how this sounds. I know you probably hate me. But before you throw a glass or slam a door, I want you to know. Kyle didn't steal me. I left. I walked. I chose this. She paused, then looked away, just for a second. When her eyes came back, they were colder. I didn't want it to end like this, but I stopped wanting to fix things when I realized you didn't even notice they were broken. She never mentioned his name again. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't say, I'm sorry. Just closed her eyes, leaned forward, and turned off the camera. The video cut to black. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what came next. A folder named Screens. Inside, Screensh asterisk TS of my calendar. My meeting schedule. Doctor appointments. Golf games with Dan. Notes I'd made in shared docs. All captured. Labeled. Organized. Then a photo, grainy, taken through glass, of me at my desk. From behind. I was working. Unaware. Focused. And someone had taken it. A voice memo followed. Amber's voice. Whispered. He'll be gone by 6. Is everything still on? It made my blood run cold. This wasn't sneaking around. This was coordinated. She wasn't just covering her tracks. She was using my tracks. My routines. My blind spots. She wasn't just cheating. She was designing it. I closed the laptop. My chest hurt. My hands ached from gripping the table. I had proof now. Not just of the affair, but of the method. And for the first time, I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I was something else. Something sharper. The next morning, I printed everything. Receipts. Screensh asterisk TS. The transcript of her voice memo. Her video still paused on her last look into the camera. I didn't say anything at breakfast. We ate eggs. She scrolled her phone. I watched. When we finished, I handed her the folder. She blinked. What's this? You? I said. She opened it. Didn't say a word for a full 2 minutes. Just flipped pages. When she reached the memo, she froze. Her jaw clenched. Finally, she looked up at me. Not afraid. Not even defensive. Just tired. You waited for me to hang myself, she said. I shook my head. No. I pointed at the laptop. You filmed it. Kyle Bennett. The name wouldn't leave my head. Not now. Not after I'd heard it spill from the front desk clerk's mouth like it was any other Tuesday check-in. Like it wasn't the name that was about to burn everything I thought I knew down to the ground. I sat in the car outside the Gable Hotel for a full hour after that. Just gripping the steering wheel. Watching people come and go. Some smiled. Some didn't. Most were couples. Most looked tired. Like they checked in to forget their lives for a night. That was what this place was for. Forgetting. And Amber came here over and over. With him. With Kyle. The man I once offered a job. Well, almost. He interviewed 6 months ago. Rolled in late but somehow made it work. Had that startup confidence, the kind that makes you forget to check references. He was polished in a way that didn't feel earned. Like he was playing the part. Still, my boss liked him. But I didn't. Something felt slick. Off. So I told HR to pass. Thanked him for coming in, and that was it. Or at least I thought that was it. Until today. Now I couldn't stop replaying that afternoon. Amber had popped by the office with coffee. It wasn't unusual. She did that sometimes when she was bored or in the area. I was in the break room when Kyle came out of the interview, shook my hand, and turned to leave. That's when Amber walked in. Hey babe, she said, grinning, handing me the drink. Then she saw him. They locked eyes. Nothing dramatic. Just a pause. A second longer than necessary. Oh, she said. Didn't mean to interrupt. No worries, I said, introducing them. Kyle, this is my wife, Amber. Nice to meet you, he said, smiling a little too easily. Very nice. Amber shook his hand. You too, Kyle. I remember how she said his name, like she was committing it to memory. He left and she sipped her latte. Charismatic guy, she said. If we weren't married. I rolled my eyes. You always say that. But I remember the way she looked at the elevator doors as they closed. Like something had just clicked. Back then I thought it was a joke. Now I realized it was a selection. I dug through my files and found his resume. Same name. Same number. Same address. A cheap little apartment complex not far from the hotel. On paper, he was just another job candidate. But in real life, he was her plan B, maybe even her plan A, because she didn't trip into his arms at a bar. She chose him. She reached out to him. Or maybe he reached out to her. Either way, it wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't some emotional spiral like the movies want you to believe. It was constructed. She met him once, said 5 words to him, and then she built a life around him that had nothing to do with me. And I kept thinking, How many nights did she leave our house and drive not to a friend's place, not to some girl's night, but to Kyle? To the same hotel room, the same bourbon-soaked lies, the same hollow voice that said, "I love you," to me while her hair still carried his scent. I felt sick, couldn't eat, couldn't drink, couldn't even cry, just sat there with her video echoing in my head. Kyle didn't steal me. I walked. I thought back even further, little things. Things that used to feel innocent, like the time she changed her passcode. "It's nothing personal," she'd said. "Just security stuff." Or when she started leaving her phone face down every night. When she stopped sending selfies, stopped texting back right away, stopped asking me how my day went. All those times I blamed stress, or burnout, or routine. No, it wasn't that. It was transition. She was transitioning out of us. That night, I opened a fresh folder on my computer and labeled it, "For me." Inside, I saved everything. Every receipt, every photo, the GPS logs, the screenshot *TS, her voice memo, the paused frame of her looking into the webcam, eyes like ice. And then I wrote down a question at the top of a blank page. When did she stop loving me? And underneath that, I started writing what I remembered. 2 years ago, she asked me if I still found her exciting. I said, "Of course." She didn't believe me. A year ago, she wanted to take a trip alone. To reset, she said. I stayed home, paid the bills, waited. 8 months ago, she started working out again. New clothes, more makeup, just for me, she said. 5 months ago, she stopped touching me. Not just in bed, on the couch, in the kitchen. Her hugs felt like chores. 3 months ago, she asked, "Do you think we settled?" 1 month ago, she said she needed more freedom, but she'd already left. Her body just hadn't caught up. The more I wrote, the clearer it became. Amber had been building an exit ramp for a long time. She didn't just want to cheat. She wanted to disappear. The next morning, she made breakfast. Eggs, toast, my favorite jam. She was humming. That was new. She looked up when I walked in. "Good morning," she said. "Morning," I replied. We ate in silence. I watched her the way you watch someone you don't trust anymore, trying to catch the glitch in their smile, the flicker behind their eyes. She buttered her toast like she had nothing to hide. I stirred my coffee and said, "Do you remember Kyle Bennett?" She froze, just for half a breath. Then, "Kyle." "Yeah," I said. "The guy from the interview. Slick hair. Late. You said he was charismatic." She smiled weakly. "Oh, right. What about him?" I shrugged. "I saw him yesterday, outside the gable." I let it hang. Her smile didn't crack. "Funny coincidence," she said. I nodded. "Yeah, funny." Then I stood, picked up my mug, and walked upstairs. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't kiss her cheek. Didn't ask about her day. And I didn't look back. That afternoon, she texted me from the living room while I was upstairs working. "Amber, everything okay?" I didn't answer. 2 minutes later, "Amber, you seem weird." "Weird?" "No, Amber. I wasn't weird. I was awake now. I'd seen her script. Heard her voice when she thought I wasn't listening. Watched her construct a second life from the bones of our first. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was evidence. And I had enough to bury every lie she told me for the last year. I printed out Kyle's resume. Wrote one sentence across the bottom. "She chose you." Then I mailed it. To his apartment. No return address. Just white paper and black ink and the weight of a marriage he helped break. I don't know why I did it. Closure? Spite? Maybe I just wanted him to know he wasn't special. He was a line item on a plan. A name Amber said once and decided to follow through on. Nothing more. That night we didn't talk. She scrolled Instagram, laughed at stories, looked at me once or twice, probably wondering how much I knew. I wondered the same about her. How much did she know I knew? And how much longer could we keep playing this quiet war across a shared dinner table? At 11:42 p.m. She turned off her phone and whispered, "Good night." I whispered it back. She turned away. I didn't. I watched her until she fell asleep, and then I reached for my phone, opened the folder labeled for me, scrolled down past the receipts and photos, and hit play on the video again. Amber's face filled the screen. She looked straight at me, and this time I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt strategy. And I knew this wasn't cheating. This was a campaign. And I had finally joined the battlefield. You don't really think of cheating as something systematic. At least I didn't. Not until I opened her laptop again a few nights later and realized the affair wasn't just emotional or physical. It was logistical, tracked, prepped, layered like a blueprint for escape. Every detail, from where I'd be to how long I'd be gone, to which days I was likely to stay late at work, was in there. She didn't just betray me. She project managed her betrayal. It started with a folder labeled Budget Ideas. Totally innocent name. Inside, spreadsheets. Tabs labeled things like June timeline, apartment options, and furniture split. And I stared at them, not really processing what I was seeing at first. She'd been comparing moving companies, calculating deposits, exit costs. There was even a row for exit items to keep. And in the last column, notes like, don't push for TV. Let him feel like he wins something. She was game planning the negotiation of our separation before I even knew we were in trouble. Another tab had my work calendar synced with hers. Color-coded blocks highlighted the best windows for disappearing. Tuesday equals gym after work, gone 2 hours. Thursday equals 8 a.m. call, distracted. Next Friday, firm offsite equals 10 plus hours away from home. I sat there, blinking at a spreadsheet that treated me like a variable. Not a husband, not even a person, just a collection of predictable behaviors she could mold her life around. And that's when it hit me. She'd stopped interacting with me a long time ago. She was tracking me instead, like a wildlife researcher waiting for the right conditions to relocate a tagged animal. I leaned back in the chair, the cold edge of the table pressing into my ribs. I stared at the screen for a long time before finally muttering aloud. This wasn't an accident. Next was a folder inside the folder. Soon. Inside, apartment listings. Not shared apartments. Not roommate situations. Places under her name only. Studio layouts. Downtown. High-end. High security. High discretion. Some were circled with digital red ink. Others crossed out. One had a virtual tour file saved. I opened it. Amber's voice came through, faint, caught in the background of a leasing agent's video. "Oh, I love the light here," she said. She sounded free, not nervous, not hiding, just ready. I paused it and leaned forward, staring at her reflection in the mirror of the apartment's bathroom, caught just barely in the frame. She was smiling, and for the first time in a long time, I realized I didn't recognize that smile anymore. A document named What to Say broke me. It was a script, not a joke, not a note, a script. Phrases, pacing, possible reactions, and what she'd say in response. "You're overreacting. This isn't the end. It's just a shift. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this to survive. I still love the version of you I used to believe in." Underneath each line were notes on tone. Soften voice here. Don't cry, stay composed. Don't lie, reframe instead. Reframe. That word stuck with me. Amber wasn't lying. She was editing, curating. She was rewriting the story while I was still living in the rough draft. This was her exit interview, rehearsed down to the syllables. She had prepared for my pain like it was a meeting she could survive with the right talking points. I compiled everything into a binder. A literal binder. Paper felt real. Paper was permanent. Screens felt like dreams lately. I needed something I could hold. Slam shut. Stack on a table. The cover was blank. Just a single label on the spine. What she left behind. But I didn't give it to her. Not yet. I waited. Watched. Because the truth was, I wanted to see how far she'd go pretending. That night, we ate takeout on the couch. She was scrolling Instagram, showing me dog videos like we hadn't gone totally hollow. I forced a smile. Cute, right? She said, giggling. Maybe we should get a puppy. The gall. The absolute nerve of suggesting a dog when she had 2 feet out the door and one hand in another man's pocket. I nodded. Maybe. I wanted to say, you don't get to talk about forever things when you've been planning your escape like it's a prison break. But I said nothing, because I wasn't ready for her to know I knew everything. Not yet. That came a week later. I sat her down at the table and slid the binder across. She looked at it like it was ticking. What is this? Read it. She hesitated, opened it, and page after page her expression changed. Not surprise, just acceptance. Like someone watching a test come back positive for the result they already suspected. When she hit the spreadsheet, she closed her eyes. When she hit the script, she laughed. Quiet, hollow. Then she said the same words from her video. You waited for me to hang myself. I shook my head. No. I was willing to believe you'd climb down. She exhaled through her nose, almost amused. Then she said, So what now? Now? I replied. You tell me what all of this was. You already know. Tell me anyway. She looked me in the eye for the first time in days. I built something, she said. What? An emergency exit. From what? Her jaw clenched. From dying slow in a life I didn't choose. I stared at her. You chose me. No, she said quietly. I chose the version of you that used to look at me like I was a person, not an accessory. My breath caught. She continued. You stopped talking to me, stopped asking me anything real. We became polite roommates with rings. And you were so focused on surviving your job, your routines, your calendar, that I just became one of them. I wanted to fight back, to scream. But I couldn't, because deep down, some of it was true. But still, it didn't justify this. Then you should have said something, I whispered. I did. You didn't hear me. So you planned an ambush instead? No, she said. I planned a recovery. The silence that followed was awful. She didn't cry. I didn't shout. We just sat there, 2 ghosts in a house that used to be a home. Finally, I said, Why Kyle? Her eyes didn't flinch. He was simple. Simple? She nodded. He wanted me in ways you forgot how to. I looked away. That's all this was? I asked. Validation. No, she said. It was evidence. Of what? That I was still visible. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the couch, her words echoing in my head. Visible. Like I'd made her invisible. Maybe I had. Maybe in trying to survive everything else. Work, family, money. I'd stopped checking in on her soul. But that didn't mean she had to burn it all down. I never stopped loving her. I just stopped noticing that she didn't love me back. In the morning, she was gone. No note. Just her toothbrush finally packed. Her keys left on the table. And the faint smell of perfume that wasn't hers anymore. I stood in the hallway, staring at the door she used to walk through every evening. And for the first time in months, I realized something awful. I didn't miss her. I missed the version of me that didn't know. I thought the worst was over until I found the hidden account. Buried on the home computer, password. My name spelled backwards. Inside, spreadsheets logging every move I'd made over the past year. Business trips, dentist visits, sick days. Every moment I'd been gone, she'd marked it. In another folder labeled Soon, she had apartment layouts, wire transfers, even a to-do list for what furniture to take. She wasn't escaping a mistake. She was engineering a future without me. And I was just the background noise. That night, I didn't yell. I waited until dinner. We sat in silence until I slid the evidence across the table. She didn't even flinch. You waited for me to hang myself, she whispered. I stared back. No, I said. You filmed it. 2 days later, she texted. We need to talk. I didn't answer. I was already at Dan's place, he once said. If you're the only one sweating, it's not a team. Then Kyle called. Said Amber told him we were divorced. That I cheated. That she was alone. I told him, check her calendar. Ask her about the hotel tabs. Hours later, he sent me a video. Amber, sobbing, begging him not to leave. He did, and so did I. A few months later, I walked into a bookstore cafe. Ordered an oat milk latte, her old favorite, ironically. That's where I met Laura. She laughed at the same obscure book quote I'd always loved. 6 months later, I told her everything. She didn't flinch, just held my hand and said, "Good thing you left. You almost missed your real life." And she was right. I didn't lose a wife. I lost the lie I called love.